what's going on with the prices. Been a very interesting week for sure. So let's just jump right in. XRP final shakeout. I just want to enjoy my day today. It's a very special day for me. I'm going to go live in about 30 seconds as soon as I make this pull. And we can start. Bam. Let's go. Smash that like button. Smash that like button. Thank you. And we have a pull. We are going to start. Start a pull. Will XRP rally back today? Yes and no. So let us see XRP final shakeout. XRP being shaken out. It had a pretty rough week right now, but I feel like it can really recover with one good push, with one good news. But hey, who knows? We saw much, much worse months if you remember 2022. So that is something to consider. If you feel bad now, remember how bad it was like 2022. It was incredibly bad.
On the XRP and crypto market, what's going on? Where are we headed? We are crashing massively with everything. We have a lot to talk about. So make sure you guys give this video a thumbs up and stick around to the end of this video. You cannot miss what I have in store for you today. So the altcoin market, cryptos, they are crashing very aggressively, very violently. And
so yeah, XRP is the one that crashed like 5%, but you got to consider other cryptos as well. Now it's 27%, probably 30, probably 40 by this time the video is out. So just consider that as well. Another thing is if Bitcoin crashed like 2% or 3%, a lot of these cryptos still crash 30%. So it's not that small of a crash. At first I mentioned a comment like, oh, it crashed 5%, but then you can actually see that it crashed like 30%, which is not a small amount, right? 30% XRP crash. Imagine if your house went down overnight for 30%. That would be pretty crazy, wouldn't it?
And there are several factors and reasons for this, but this particular dump, this crash in cryptos is very big manipulation. We are in a bull market and they are trying to shake people out before the next leg up in the bull market, and for XRP and altcoins that includes as well. And XRP has come down from the top to the bottom 24%. That's actually not even a big deal. I've been buying XRP with my community since we've started dumping here, and we've been scaling all the way in. So if you want to be a part of my VIP community and follow my exact trades and ideas of what I'm doing as a 7-figure trader every single year, join.
So yeah, everything was good one day, then suddenly we saw a massive crash. So what's happening? What's going on? Well, I feel like during summer is where people stop buying. They start enjoying their vacation. We saw this in 2021. We saw this exact same pattern, right? People stopped, just basically getting interested in crypto during the summer because they want to spend quality time. And I think this is not such a bad theory. And once we get back to September, when people return to jobs, that's when the markets could recover, right?
My VIP community through the WAP. So XRP has lost this support. We have failed the breakout attempt here.
Now that is scary because it also broke down my price prediction. Not just his, it also my price prediction, which I said it's not going to drop below 3. Now the support line is getting hit, right?
$3. And we have now come into key support. So we've reached this critical support here around $2.75. So right now we are about $2.80, and we are probably going to bounce up very, very soon to around $3.06. And then we also have $3.18.
So yeah, it won't take just one rally. He's saying it will take like 2 rallies. So first we need to get the issue with crypto crashes and why everyone is afraid about crypto crashes is because not only do they, make you lose money, to get back, you also need to get the same amount of buyers. That's why crypto crashes are bad. Because if the price stays the same, that's 10 times better. but you're basically making the price difference of, instead of like 50%, you know, from all-time high, you're making it go 100% down, right? I know it sounds very stupid what I said, but it kind of makes sense. So yeah, just let that sink in, that this is it's pretty brutal, but it is normal, and I'm not too worried yet that we are going to be losing our houses yet.
And $3.33. I do think we are going to bounce very, very soon, but we are in a correction. And the crazy thing is altcoins have started to correct much faster and way before Bitcoin did. And now Bitcoin is starting to correct. And that's even putting more selling pressure on altcoins. One thing about Bitcoin, and there is a strong possibility that we potentially have reached a bottom, or we are very close within this correction. What I think is going to happen is we're probably going to end up.
So it really had a big crash, but again, I feel like we should still be seeing some recovery around September. So look at that. Some momentum down is okay. It's like a healthy correction, but this crash was worse than I expected. I expected way less worse than this.
Bottom, which is probably going to be around 108,000 for Bitcoin, and then start to scale into XRP and altcoins again. There's a couple of scenarios that
I feel like once the whales start selling, like the big institutions, if they start selling their Bitcoin, imagine the type of pump we could have for XRP. Right now, most of the eyes, most of the institutional money is on Bitcoin, not XRP. So the altcoins are still bleeding out compared to Bitcoin itself.
Thinking of and looking at. I mean, if you just take a look at some of these altcoins here, they have been beaten down brutally. XRP, I mean, they even dumped XRP again today. It's already bounced.
Like, again, for the price to crash that much, it's not like, you know, someone selling $100, $200, right? These dumps have to be in ranges of million, 5 million, 3 million to reflect the price that much. Even if you sell $2 million, I guess the price drops like 3 cents. So this might be a very, very big sell-off from people.
Up 2% and almost 3% from the highs. This is a critical level for XRP. XRP is probably going to bounce here. I think the lowest we're probably going to see XRP in this pullback is going to be around $2.66. The bearish case scenario, ladies and gentlemen, and this is the short term, not long term. XRP is going to keep pushing higher, in my opinion.
The thing is, technology still stands, right? Even if we saw a short term drop like this, again, long term still there. They're still having these partnerships. And what I like with it is they're not giving up. Like, they're still going to be going strong with it, basically.
Bitcoin is not topped out yet. Bitcoin is going to go to at least 150,000. But what I personally think with XRP is, yes, maybe one more dump. This would be the final bottom for XRP. But in the short term, I squeeze up into
under 2.47, I'll be picking up more. Yeah, I definitely think it could drop to those levels. Like, seeing we're already at 2.8, 2.47 doesn't really feel that bad.
This level here, if we reject this level again, I'm looking to take profits on my XRP. And then I'm going to wait for
So I'm curious why he said like $3.4. I'm curious why. I guess he's saying like a retest and then he's going to wait for another drop. The thing is, this is a very dangerous game, right? Because you're playing like the levels that you will go to retest and it will drop back to 2.8. It might never drop back to 2.8 if, you know, the government comes in and buys everything, basically. So that's another thing that a lot of people don't consider is maybe at some point it won't be 2.8 anymore. So yeah, but selling at 3.4, I mean, it's a pretty high price point. It's risky, but that's the same thing traders were doing at $3 and saying, okay, it's never going to go above $3. And we saw more than $3, right? We saw 3.66.
Potentially lower, depends on what Bitcoin does. Somewhere in these lower regions here, $2, $2.50, somewhere in this region, XRP could go to if Bitcoin does that bearish scenario where we get a push up, reject, and come down lower. And then this might be the bottom, or another leg lower could be the bottom. This is the scenario I'm personally.
I mean, this, like, Bitcoin below 100K would definitely really shake the markets. But we're also very much relying on stock markets. And once we got the job report in, guess what? So many people started selling.
My opinion, not financial advice. So overall, I'm bullish. Am I scared or am I worried? No, I'm buying the dip. Me and my community, we are scaling and buying the dip every single.
So that's the smart move that Miles G actually said. Like, he's buying the dip and he's not too afraid of XRP like dropping. He's actually saying that it will push higher.
A bounce and a squeeze, and we're going to reassess and looking at how the market looks. Does it look bullish? Does it look strong? And
if you turn this chart, all the way back, you can still see it's very strong anyway. You can see it's still going sky high. So you can see that it went, still above $2.7. And again, as I was said many times on this stream, if you told someone 5 years ago that it's going to be $2.7, they would literally jump in circles. They would try to run in circles because that would be so amazing for them, right? At 20 cents. But again, these times are different. There's no more XRP lawsuit. So I really feel like the potential for XRP price is way higher than pre-lawsuit. There's also more XRP partnerships, inbound. So that's something that traders are doing. They're waiting for the $3.2 again.
Or preparing for the next leg lower so we can buy lower again. Make sure you guys are also trading on Blowfin.
So yeah, there's another XRP BlackRock partnership that I wanted to talk about. XRP and BlackRock, real connections that will shock you. So look at this.
Connections between Ripple, XRP.
So yeah, BlackRock, basically a $1 trillion company, one of the biggest companies, partnering with XRP. They already are doing some smaller projects for Ledger, I'm pretty sure. But BlackRock has been mostly for Ethereum, if I remember correctly. Now we're seeing that crypto is just exploding in all sense it can.
And BlackRock. I've seen a lot of things said about this in recent days and weeks. And in this video, I'm here to break things down for you guys and give you guys actual real information in terms of what we know when it comes to potential connections between Ripple, XRP.
I don't think it will rally back until end of the week, maybe beginning next week. I feel like it won't even rally in August. It might just rally back in September. Like that's my gut feeling here, right? Not financial advice, but it doesn't seem like that right now. August is like the way of the kings for XRP, but who knows?
And BlackRock. There's a lot of things said, guys, and there's a lot of noise that happens in the markets. Now, I am here to tell you there is some very relevant connections, very relevant information I'm going to share with you guys in this video. And I do ask right now that you help push this video out there by hitting the like button until the end, because there's a lot.
Yeah, Zach has been making a lot of content in the last 5 years for XRP. But again, I want to hear his thoughts on BlackRock. Because if BlackRock will, I don't think they will literally buy XRP. I don't think they will directly buy it. Maybe for gas fees, but they're not the way they do partnerships like that. They don't directly buy tokens. But maybe they would make some sort of a partnership. So that is very much possible. If they do like a partnership, again, that would be tons of money for them.
And Stanford economist. Now, Robert's career path is often cited in speculation about strategic alignment between Ripple and BlackRock. So that's one little piece. But one thing that came out recently that
the potential Fed cuts could really save that. Yeah, and there would be like a ton of updates from that. Trump's crypto bill coming in September, that's another thing.
To me is probably the biggest connection that I can find right now between Ripple and BlackRock. And obviously, XRP is a big piece of this. In mid-2025, Ripple, utilizing the XRP ledger, partnered with Ondo Finance to token bind $185 million in U.S. Treasuries. It is backed in part by BlackRock's money market funds, and they're using Ripple's RLUSD stablecoin for mint and redemption purposes. Now, this marks a real-world asset use case where Ripple provides the infrastructure and BlackRock linked funds indirectly supply the liquidity. So to me, this is the biggest link between Ripple, XRP, and BlackRock. All right. So BlackRock executive has also been present. A BlackRock executive has also been present at a Ripple event. This is the third piece of information for you. This guy's name is Maxwell Stein. He's the director of digital assets at BlackRock. He was invited to speak at Ripple's Swell event here in 2025. His presence was seen by many as a notable signal, though there's no formal corporate ties between these firms right now.
So yeah, one thing he mentioned is they are using XRP structure to pay out this Ondo project, which is very popular. This could be good, right? But again, a lot of different partnerships are happening, and it doesn't mean that they will, work for them if they just provide liquidity. It isn't a good reason enough, in my opinion, for BlackRock to start working with Ripple. And I'm a bit skeptical on this. I feel like the guy that is at BlackRock, there's thousands and thousands of employees coming from BlackRock, to these crypto events because it's very connected. So what if he's just a fan of Ripple? What if he's indirectly holding XRP? He did not represent BlackRock, the company, meeting up at the Ripple event. Maybe he wants to find more info. I wouldn't be surprised if they want to work with Ripple in the future. But again, right now it's a bit questionable if they're really going to work or it's just going to be a nothing burger, right?
So here's the thing. So we have those three things. BlackRock executive at the Ripple event this year, the tokenization efforts via Ondo Finance. This is a direct link. And then the shared talent with Robert Mitchnick and Susan Athey, right? Again, BlackRock's head of digital assets, currently Robert Mitchnick, used to work at Ripple. They co-authored that paper together. The Ondo Finance link's real. But here's what's not established, but it's still interesting. There's no official merger, but there have been rumors about BlackRock merging with Ripple or BlackRock purchasing XRP. Now, these are
So one thing you have to consider, why do they purchase XRP is because XRP is used for gas fees. Again, if they are paying out on the ledger from XRP's infrastructure, they use XRP as gas. That is XRP's utility. So, it's pretty clear to me that BlackRock right now is not directly, in my opinion, is not directly correlated with XRP or is going to collab with them. Maybe they just want to use their infrastructure. Everything hints to me that way. And another hint is that the person who went to a Ripple event, they went, they're working out for BlackRock, but they literally worked for Ripple before. Maybe they wanted to see their old friends or employees. So who knows? These connections are, a bit, they're not really that connected as you would expect for a massive pump, right?
Verified, and we don't have credible evidence to this point. But if they were doing this, they were probably doing this as quietly as they can. Okay. Both firms have denied such claims to this point. Now, here's the other thing we don't have, but we think we will have. And that's an XRP ETF. And once the Clarity Act gets through, I think we're going to see the big dogs, Fidelity, BlackRock, they're all going to come to the table. As of now, though, BlackRock has not filed for or confirmed launching an XRP ETF. Speculation comes, though, primarily from analysts like Nate Garashi.
So yeah, maybe they bought a small amount of XRP. Right now, BlackRock joining XRP would be huge, but I feel like the bank partnerships are a much bigger buy, like the much bigger thing.
Who suggests filing for Solana and XRP ETFs may follow Ripple's legal clarity, a la the Clarity Act. Once that's through, we could see BlackRock go all in on a Ripple XRP ETF. But the actual big joint venture here, Ripple and BlackRock, are jointly tokenizing assets. That is real. Projects like Ondo Finance's XRP Ledger Treasury tokens involve Ripple Tech and BlackRock linked fund support. All of the other stuff, XRP ETF, BlackRock and Ripple, could be one company. BlackRock, made a big investment in XRP. All of this stuff is kind of hearsay. Now, do I think some of this stuff could be true? Yes, I do. But Ripple and BlackRock to this point haven't formed a direct alliance. However, emerging tokenization projects and shared leadership experiences, they contribute to a growing narrative of some type of strategic alignment here. And BlackRock's core crypto focus, while it remains Bitcoin and Ethereum for now, I think it will involve XRP in some form or fashion when it comes to tokenized treasuries and ETFs.
I feel like that the point here is pretty clear. If we want to see BlackRock entering XRP, what we need to see is them finding a way to make money. So XRP ETFs. BlackRock is now offering ETFs with Bitcoin and Ethereum. Again, that is something that XRP is aiming for in September. They got delayed, and I feel like that BlackRock is going to work that way with XRP. They're going to offer the ETFs, and they're going to look, maybe we can do more partnerships because it's going to be a win-win for all of us. So that's one thing. That's what people are really excited about. XRP right now doesn't have those big ETFs approved yet. That's why BlackRock does not care at this moment. So I feel like it's a pretty clear point across that right now BlackRock and XRP are, in my opinion, in very, very early stages. And a lot of people who are working there could be like basically employees. So we haven't heard any confirmation on that yet. But I'll keep you guys updated on this channel, and definitely smash that like button, guys, to support this channel. So there was another news from Crypto ZX that really caught my eye. Ripple XRP, if you don't ignore this.
And just like that, we're back again with yet again another update on XRP. You know, I wanted to kind of come and give you guys an update, you know, before we end off the month of July. Of course, today is the last day of the month. I was unable to give you guys an update last night. So I wanted to kind of sit here, you know, give you guys a little bit of an update as to, you know, what's really happening and, you know, my overall projections. This is only going.
So look at this, like going down from $3, it's even lower now. But I want to see what he said about the prices, like the price prediction, XRP USD.
Look at this, guys. I want you guys to understand how important this $3 range really was. Spoke to you guys about this in my last update, which is 2 days back, how, you know, if we were to drop below the 309 cents mark, you know, we could push down to the $3 range, and that's exactly what ended up happening. But look, we actually wicked down to $2.93, and look where we are right now.
We're actually lower now, but yeah, I told you guys this $3 range is the holy grail. It's very important. Just like Indiana Jones, you know, like it's a very big thing. And when you lose it, it's going to be hard to retake it back. Again, this is like a rally point in crypto right now. The rally point for XRP. And once you lose that, yes, you can get it back, but you need to have another major event, major news to really get that price momentum going on. And with no price momentum going on right now, because it's summer, SEC has delayed it. Offices are like, you know, on standby. We have the ETFs delayed. There hasn't been that much crazy bullish news. But again, there's nothing indicating that we're entering a full-blown bear market. We're still very much in a bull market, which is what a lot of people are very excited for. And people are hyped about that. It's definitely not over in that sense.
I kid you not. You cannot make this up. We actually were able to make our way back above the psychological level really, really fast. It is a major key resistance as well, but look how fast things really turned around. You know, due to BTC is the reason why altcoins reacted, and of course XRP is no exception. We came down to $2.92, but since then it's been an instant $3.
So again, I feel like some people tried to buy back, but it just did not work, right? But if you look at here, if you look at 2025 at the start of $2.4, we saw a rally back up. We saw a dip, rally back up, dip, rally, dip, right? You get my point. But right now we're seeing a dip that was broken down by a further dip. So that's why what it tells me, it's going to need some time to recover. Again, when we saw rallies to $3, we literally saw a maximum 1 week dip and then like a rally. But here it was basically in a free fall, standing the price still for some time. It tried to go back from $3.4 back to all-time high. It couldn't do that. So it was fighting between $3.3, went back down to 2.7, right? Because again, that's what I'm telling you guys on this channel. Nobody wanted it for $3.5. They thought it was too expensive. The price was like, okay, we're going to test this price again now at $2.7, $2.5, $2.2. And until a whale decides, okay, $2, that's a very good price. 2.25, 2.50, I'll buy it. I'll buy it because I believe it's going to go back to $3.6. So that's the big news that, you know, a lot of these whales are waiting for. They're waiting and seeing what goes on in August so they can go big in September.
BTC Bitcoin is the king of the market, and that's why we focus on BTC every single day. But the fact that, you know, we're back above this 3 range, very interesting. But right now, yeah, in terms of, you know, being out of the wood just yet, we need to get a little bit more confirmation from BTC, and, you know, those are some of the levels that I've just spoken to you guys about. So we'll talk later tonight, after midnight. Usually that's when I make these updates, so I'll bring you guys you know, a more full in-depth update, you know, kind of going over the news and all that stuff. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you have not subscribed, what are you waiting for? We'll see you later in Crypto ZX, and peace out.
Yeah, pretty crazy news overall. XRP has been absolutely insane right now, but there is another one. I'm chasing the $300 XRP dream. Now, I've been watching Cheeky Crypto a lot, and he's trying to push for $300 XRP.
Message at 6 a.m. that nearly made me spit out.
It's $300 XRP. Now, this would make a lot of friends very rich. But are we actually going to hit $300, or is it not going to work out? That's my question. Right now, XRP has been struggling to even push for $5. So why should it go to 300? And if companies believe it will go to 300, why are they giving it up on it now when they could literally, you know, buy it right now? If people are so certain it will go to 300, why are the companies not trying to pump it to $10, right? That's the risk here. Is this just a dream, a fad? Like, is it not going to happen?
My coffee. My friend on our Discord server was hyped, claiming that XRP is going to $300 soon. $300. Now, I almost dropped my mug. It sounded absurd. I'm saying my old
it is absurd.
Honda, you know, would magically turn into a Ferrari.
But this is the thing here is the crazy part. If we get to $300, again, there's price predictions that they will go to 750. That will not stop at 300. And also Bitcoin. Look, it used to be $10. Now it's 10,000, 100,000, right? So it is very strong still.
Overnight, right? But then it kind of thought hit me a little bit. What if he's not totally crazy? What if there's actually something behind this rather wild $300 XRP prediction? So today, I want to take you on a little adventure, a personal quest that started with that outrageous XRP rumor. See, I just couldn't laugh it off. I had to find out for myself, is there any chance, even a slither of a chance, that XRP could repeat history in such a big way? And by the end of this story, you're going to know why some people are whispering about the 2017 deja vu and whether I'm actually, you know, now stocking up on XRP or calling my friend crazy.
Even if it reaches like maybe like $30, again, this would make a lot of people very wealthy. But for us to get, you know, from 30 cents or 20 cents to $3, so a 10x took 7 years. But now there's more money in the crypto markets. This could pump faster, right? If retail investors come in. We're still far away from that, though.
And here's a spoiler. It might be a little bit of both. So buckle up, because this ride gets really interesting. So it all began with that early morning Discord chat then. So for context, this isn't just any Discord. It's our free educational Discord, crypto Discord. The link one on
the 2017 XRP explosion. XRP already had its explosion, and if we count this inflation, this would be about $4.4 XRP today. So in my opinion, XRP is not at its all-time high yet, because what we saw, the explosion in 2017, XRP was more talk then, and it hit like $3.6. Again, dollars are worth way less, you know, in 8 years now, which is literally crazy. But they're going for it.
Or at least hardly anyone knew about it, and it was on no one's radars. It was actually underperforming at the start of the year, moving sideways quietly. Traders like to say it was stuck in a symmetrical triangle, which is just fancy talk for the price squeezing tighter and tighter like a coiling spring. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, that spring sprung. Around March of 2017, XRP broke out of its slumber and exploded. And by May of 2017, well, XRP had rocketed to about 40 cents from practically nothing. I mean, imagine something going from half a cent to 40 cents. It scaled on something like an 80x gain within just 2 months. It was insanity, right? And I can almost
I feel like that 1 month XRP literally rallied to $2-3.
picture early XRP holders rubbing their eyes, wondering if it was real. Then XRP just took a bit of a breather, probably just catching its breath, just like the rest of us. It traded.
So yeah, it went from, in 1-2 weeks, it went from $3.4. It literally went down to $2. So this can happen again, but crypto back then was much more smaller, which means there's much more chance for the market prices to crash, right?
Traded sideways for 6 long months through 2017. And if you were holding XRP in mid-2017, you might have been thinking, well, that was fun, I guess that's it. But it wasn't, right? It was the calm before an even bigger storm. Come December of 2017, that coiled spring analogy came back with a vengeance. XRP broke out again from its consolidation and went on an epic tear. I'm talking about a face-melting rally. It surged all the way up to $3.31 by January of 2018, marking roughly 60,000% increase from where it started earlier in that year. Now that kind of percentage gain is so huge that it sounds made up. If you had invested, let's say $1,000 in XRP at the start of 2017, it would have become something like $600,000 by the early 2000s. Become something like $600,000.
So yeah, $600K for $1,000 is a pretty good return on investment. I don't feel like that is possible anymore because right now people are investing, $1,000, $2,000 and hoping it goes back to 300K. Again, to get to that, to do another 100x is going to be much harder because there's big whales now. So imagine if you put in like 100K, that basically means that the people with 2 million, 3 million, they're going to be literally billionaires. There's going to be trillionaires if XRP does well. And that's kind of worrying and not mathematically possible. Like if XRP hits $300, there's going to be for sure a multi-billionaire, probably some of the richest people in the world, right, with XRP. But I don't feel like there's enough liquidity for everyone.
By the early 2018s, which it kind of turned normal folks into millionaires. And it also caused a lot of FOMO and probably some FOMO-induced heartbreaks later on. And so that was XRP's golden legend, right? The biggest run that it had ever had. And
it literally needed, for that run to recover, it needed like 7 years.
Crucially, it followed a pattern, a fractal, if you will, of a slow start, a breakout to a mid-high, a long consolidation, and then a blow off top. Keep that pattern in mind. Now, let's fast forward to the present cycle, right? The one that we're in right now. Now, the reason that people are buzzing is because XRP seems to be tracing a spookily similar path. After years of being in a crypto wilderness, and dealing with, a massive SEC lawsuit and all that drama, XRP started showing signs of life once again in late 2024. In fact, from Q4 2024 onwards, it's been pretty impressive. The numbers speak for themselves, right? By July of 2025, XRP was trading at around $3.13, which is a massive 538% increase from where it was in November of 2024.
So that's already, if you compare this to stock market, XRP rallying 500%. I know what a lot of people are hoping for 100,000%. It's a very good move in my opinion. It's going to be very hard to get that anywhere else in the world, these return on investments, unless you're doing like penny stocks, little cents. It is impossible to go on those levels. So this is why XRP is really having so many eyes on, because we haven't been seeing anywhere these amount of fast gains today in life, except with crypto. Isn't that a bit crazy that we're seeing that? Like, to me, it does sound a bit insane that you can get probably like if you put $10,000, that means you have $50,000 now. Not possible with a lot of cryptos.
2024. So let's think about that. That's over a 5x in just 8 months. That's enough to make even hardened crypto veterans raise an eyebrow. It certainly reignited a lot of bullish feelings in the XRP community, and trust me, they never really lost their faith to begin with. So here's how it kind of played out. From much of 2024, XRP was just kind of drifting, underperforming against other coins and forming, guess what? Another one of those triangular coiling patterns on the chart. And by November of 2024, boom, it had broke out upwards, just like in 2017. Right, the price took off, and by January of 2025, it hit around $3.40 at its peak. Then it faced a bit of a roadblock and consolidation for about 6 months.
Like, this is very normal in crypto. But again, we have been seeing for 6 months XRP before it saw breakout. This was this year, not 2017. We can check the past, but we're seeing the same patterns we are seeing now, same patterns we were seeing before, and we can probably expect that the patterns right now might repeat itself, just like 2017, which would be super nice. The issue I have with this video, however, Cheeky Crypto is very knowledgeable about crypto, is that the markets are very much different. XRP is very much different. It's like kind of entering a totally different coin since 2017. 8 years in crypto moves on lightning fast. 8 years in crypto is literally before any of the stuff that you check the last 5 years happened. I mean, last 5 years have been crazy. So that's why XRP right now could either rally further or it cannot get the previous rallies. Now, that is something we're going to be finding out. Can XRP, with all these partnerships and the need for fast transfers that were here last year's, with the improvement of AI, I feel like it's really bullish and really helping XRP as well.
Now, that $3.40 is significant. It's essentially the same region as the old 2018 all-time high. Imagine the excitement then, right? XRP was setting new highs again after so many years. Now, I remember watching that rally and feeling a mix of euphoria and deja vu. It was like, is this really happening? Is this the phoenix rising from the ashes? But then history kept on rhyming. After that January peak, XRP pushed further at the time, right? Like I said, it hit a wall and it went to sleep for a little bit, drifting down and sideways through the first half of 2025. And wouldn't you know it, that consolidation lasted 6 months, pretty much the first half of 2025. It sounds familiar.
So yeah, exactly same patterns repeating. But again, XRP starts breaking again in July. We are seeing this fractional repeating where XRP basically recovers a bit. People don't really forget about it. People are still talking about it, but we're waiting for higher prices, right? We're waiting for the whales to jump back in.
5 rolls in and XRP starts waking up again. It broke out of its slumber, climbing out of that consolidation range, and suddenly green candles are popping up on the chart again. It's not a $100 rally or anything too crazy, at least not yet, but the momentum is clearly back. And this is where the phrase following the 2017 fractal started buzzing in our community. People began overlaying the 2000.
That's why people are asking for $100, because of all these partnerships that we have been getting, right? We have been getting tons and tons of partnerships last few months because the lawsuit is over. That's why it could reach even over $4. Or maybe this is more likely is XRP for the next 2-3 years will keep on building until it builds out this new hype, new cycle. It also really depends how many new US investors come from this retail hype we are seeing right now. Right now, we are hoping for a huge pump of more and more retail investors coming in, right? And that's what a lot of people are waiting for. And if we can see that, that would be definitely amazing.
2017 chart on the 2024-2025 chart. And I gotta say, the similarity was uncanny.
Next week is our week. That would definitely be nice. I'm hoping, for September to really get that price action. And again, we got to think about the Senate is still going to take some time to get approved. It might take like a few weeks.
It's like those history repeats memes coming true. Now, I saw respected analysts, names that you might know if you're on crypto Twitter, all kind of pointing out the very same pattern from 2017 and how it seems to be playing out once again. Now, it's kind of just not just one person, right, seeing these things. It's actually a lot of chart watchers independently noticing the very same setup. So at this point, even skeptics had to admit, okay, the charts, they do look alike. I'll give you that. Now, of course, recognizing a similar pattern doesn't automatically mean that you're going to get the exact same output.
I feel like we could be seeing the price pump just like 2017, you know, like a bit recovery, then back to a pump. The issue here is people are expecting $100, you know, by December 2025. That to me is a bit unrealistic. And the targets are going like for $4, $5, maximum $7 this cycle. Again, I'm not price prediction analyst. I'm not an expert. But if you go to $100, it's going to compete with basically another country, which it's a great company, but again, it's not on that level yet, and it's going to take more time to cover its regulation and everything else that it has planned. Like all these partnerships will probably also take a year or two to formulate and build themselves up, right? So we are going to be still waiting for that, and I'll keep you guys updated on that as well. But right now we are hoping that this 2017 cycle that repeats and pumps again.
Right? Or outcome. And most of these analysts, you know, they weren't saying XRP will definitely copy paste a 60,000% gain. In fact, most, almost all in fact, of them predict more modest outcomes. They had a wide range of price targets. Some said, you know, maybe $10. Others aimed for $27 or $50. And a lot were being cautious, probably because, hey, lightning doesn't usually strike twice with the exact same magnitude. And then there's my Discord buddy and a few others on YouTube and forums, of course, who are like, nah, man, think bigger, think way bigger. They're basically saying that if the setup truly is the same, then why not the same kind of result? Why couldn't XRP do another 60,000% run like it did back then? It sounds crazy, and trust me, I know, but I couldn't help but wonder, is it even possible? So
I don't feel like it's possible. If you check the prices, like that would be trillions and trillions of money coming in. I don't even feel like there is enough money. If it goes to $100, it would have to be, if it goes to $10, it would have to be Bitcoin's market cap right now. And again, Bitcoin needed years, and it was the first crypto, and it has all these ETFs approved. So $10 by the end of the year is going to be super hard unless Bitcoin really pumps us sky high. But then people are saying, oh, we're going to hit $300 in 1 year. I mean, come on. Like, what gives you $300, which is literally 100x returns, is going to be a bit crazy. That means if you put in 10K, the sky's the limit. You're a millionaire, right? And that would definitely be awesome, but obviously this comes with a lot of risk, guys. So just be careful.
being the curious and admittedly optimistic kind of guy that I am, I entertained the question. Let's do a little thought experiment together. What if XRP followed the 2017 fractal to the letter? No conservative measures, just full send. Right? In 2017, XRP rose about 60,000%. So if we consider a similar starting point this cycle, let's say November of 2024, when XRP was about, 50 cents, a 60,000% increase from 50 cents would put us and land us on the price of around $300 per XRP.
The thing is, when you're like a tenth of a penny, it's much easier to go to 10 cents than when you're like 50 cents to go to $300. That is because of market cap. When it's a project is early, and if you're truly early, your investment is going to give way better returns than, for example, when your investment is at $3, right? So look at the video. Why do so many people put money into it? Is because they put very large amounts. They put millions and millions of dollars. They don't put like $1,000 hoping to be a millionaire. That's impossible. But the big whales right now, that's where the big money could be. That's where XRP could be hitting a 3x. Who knows? You know, some people have $20,000, $60,000 is good money. But again, nothing is certain. This is a big risk that you guys have to consider.
Yep, $300. So that's the figure that had me nearly spraying coffee everywhere this morning. Right? It's a moonshot number, no doubt. And when I first calculated it, I had to double check because it seemed unreal. And here's where the cold water of reality splashes us in the face. At about $300 a coin, given roughly 60 billion in XRP in circulation, we are going to be talking about a market capitalization of around $18 trillion for XRP.
18 trillion? That is insane. Isn't that like half of US debt?
That's over 4 times the size of the entire cryptocurrency market, putting XRP's valuation nearer to that of gold. So let that sink on in. But also remember that market cap is a kind of fictional number. It doesn't really represent anything, and that market cap is dictated by the price, as in the price controls the market cap. So are we really even looking at the right thing? However, and here is the fun part. What if it did happen, right? Indulge me for just a moment here, because on that Discord chat, after the initial shock, I kind of let myself fantasize for it a little bit, right? If XRP ever hit $300, it would be straight up historic, right?
Like, that would mean it would flip Bitcoin over and over, and it would literally flip the whole market for basically hitting Bitcoin 4 times. And again, I'm not too certain about these price predictions because I saw them with another coin, Shiba Inu. They said $1, we couldn't get to $1. They said 1 cent, and they cannot get to 1 cent. And people are still asking for it to this day. And it's because I'm more careful in crypto. I like my life slow and steady. Some people like their life fast with fast gains. But again, sometimes slow and steady, even if one partnership after one partnership, you get many partnerships on board, that's when it would be really bullish.
Which, you know, at 50 cents was around $5,000 investment. At $300 a piece, that stash would be worth $3 million. So you can read that again. $5,000 turns into $3 million. So it's no wonder that my friend was so hyped on Discord then, right? The mere possibility can send the imagination into overdrive. I'll admit, I spent a good chunk of that day just daydreaming scenarios. What if it really happens? What would I do? But after a while, I'd have to come back down to earth. First off, markets today are much heavier than in 2017. It takes way more money to move top coins now. Second,
the issue is also cryptos hold more money. Like crypto whales hold way more money. So again, when we see XRP $10, you're probably going to be seeing a lot of these whales selling off. Maybe we see a price below that. Maybe you see 5.6 and you're going to see a whale sell everything. Why? Because $1 million turning into $3 million, it can really, sway your mind to sell, of course.
It's a different macro backdrop, right? The crypto market isn't the Wild West like it used to be. Still, I'd never say never, right? Could I see XRP hitting $10 or even $50 in this bull run? Sure. A lot of analysts throw around these numbers. Some even say $1,000 by 2030. That's a stretch, but it kind of makes $300 sound almost modest by comparison. Now, before I go any further down this rabbit hole, I need to throw a very important reality check for all of us here, myself included. And this might just shock you, but I'm not a financial advisor, and nothing in this video is financial advice. Cryptocurrencies are highly volatile, and you could lose all of the money that you invest. You should always do your own research and consult a qualified professional. Right? I've got a strategy now.
I think he's holding like 10,000 XRP. So Chigi Crypto is holding 10,000 XRP. We're also going to be checking that. But yeah, I kind of agree with that. It's harder to make these market moves, but once you see these markets really like pump, that's really when it steps you back, because everybody expected like maybe $1 XRP. Nobody expected like $10 or, for example, $3 that we're right now. That's already a 3x, right, from the initial strategy. So right now we do have another video coming. SEC just dropped a huge bombshell, but urgent message for XRP holders from Ripple President Monica Long. That's it. Look at that.
telling us that institutions are becoming.
So Crypto Sensei has been pretty spot on with his like news and stuff like that. What we have right now is, I didn't know this person existed, Ripple president Monica Long. So maybe I need to do more research on that part. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure XRP's use as a bridge in Ripple payments dwarfs every other asset. I think stablecoins win for collateral use cases. Volatile collateral is annoying. Again, everybody wants, if you buy a US dollar, you don't want it to turn to 70 cents, right? You want it to always be $1. Edge use cases, volatility of the off-on ramps is also annoying. Everything else, I think the digital assets work better. Unless you're risk averse, you'll probably prefer to hold most top tier digital assets over cash. So yeah, I feel like a lot of people are going big on XRPL for that reason. That's why banks are buying XRPL, which is their Ripple or their stable currency, because they actually trust Ripple and they want to use it for use cases as well. They want to use it for transfers. They don't want to pay with dollars or bank cash anymore. They want to do everything on this chain that's going to be really fast technology.
Every other asset. I want to take a look at some of the finer details behind this post. Let's get into this.
What do you, so I also think another big shift from 2016 to today is more openness from major institutions of using public blockchains. Like when you and I were talking to banks back in the 10 years ago time frame, I mean, it was like intense fear and just reticence to go onto public chains. That's really changed. So what do you think, what do you see as the important capabilities or factors that institutions need to see to go onto public blockchains?
Yeah, I think, back then, to be fair to institutions, I guess, the maturity of the infrastructure typically wasn't there.
Sure.
And the education that was required, people just didn't get it, right? You need a couple of years, you need a couple of cycles for it to start to click. And I think, honestly, Ripple did a phenomenal job as being part of that education, because I feel like Ripple was the first blockchain to really go for the institutions and say, guys, this is 24/7 movement of value. Get with the program. So you were very much ahead of your time, I shall say. But clearly, institutions now are coming on board because I think in part, the technology has proven to be sufficiently robust and, quite frankly, better in many regards than what a lot of institutions can offer. A lot of the existing TradFi banks look at stablecoins, 24/7 value movement, and say, whoops, my systems can't support that.
Yeah.
And it is not going to take that long for them to do the same thing when they look at on-chain stocks and ETFs and you name your asset, right? And so I think right now there's really a turning point in how they look at the technology, how robust it is with the ongoing regulatory clarity, the level of adoption, and quite frankly, in some instances, FOMO that we're seeing from institutions is pretty significant.
FOMO from institutions, that's probably has to be my favorite phrase out of everything that gentleman said. I mean, we've
also seen institutions basically, going from everything against crypto now to getting pro crypto, loving crypto, talking about crypto, wanting to involve even banks. Like years ago, banks didn't want to do these transactions, but now we are seeing them working because XRP Ledger has proven itself to be very strong contender in handling these fast transactions. It seems like a lot of companies cannot handle that, and that's how the blockchain technology really helps. And yes, some blockchain technologies, they work differently for different projects. But for the massive use cases right now, we don't have worldwide adoption yet, but we do have, the first baby steps in having these testnet transactions.
Seeing what FOMO is like from retail traders, what is it like to have billions of dollars at your beck and call to pick and buy whatever you want in the market? You can buy a lot of it. Remember, some of these banks and institutions are going to end up offering crypto to their customers. Now, there's two options with banks here. They can go out and buy the crypto themselves, hold on to it for future value, and sell to customers. But the second choice is probably what banks will do. They're going to partner with, let's say, Coinbase or some of these bigger exchanges and have direct buying and selling through your bank wallet on exchanges, which is going to be pretty interesting. I also wanted to mention here, the White House report did mention Ondo Finance. You talk about traditional financial assets getting tokenized on the Ondo stack. And then, of course, tokenization of financial assets, 24/7 movement, global access, and self-custody. I wanted to break down the partnership between Ripple and Ondo because I think there's a lot of people that maybe just don't understand this fully. So I wanted to just jump into this. Let's go ahead and understand this a little bit better.
So yeah, a lot of people have been talking about Ondo coin. That's another project that's very connected, especially because BlackRock is working with it. That's why right now it's went from like $2.87. It's going between these ranges. And it's very early. I feel like a lot of people in the XRP space have not heard about it because it literally launched 2 months ago. This is the technology that's evolving now, but Ondo has been on the rise, and that's why, you know, people are bullish on it, because out of all the companies that, you know, BlackRock, $1 trillion company, they could pick anything they want. They picked XRP Ledger, so XRP Ledger to pay Ondo, and then Ondo is gonna like have these technologies for BlackRock.
So Ripple and Ondo have partnered to bring Ondo's tokenized U.S. Treasuries product, known as Ondo Short-Term U.S. Government Treasuries, OUSG, to the XRP Ledger. This partnership is designed to...
And again, tokenization, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of money coming into the markets. Just let that sink in.
Enable institutional and qualified investors to mint and redeem OUSG directly on the XRP Ledger. Utilize Ripple's enterprise-grade USD-backed stablecoin RLUSD as the median for OUSG activity, ensuring 24/7 liquidity and settlement. Here are some of the key details and mechanics of how this is all going to work. Assets supported. OUSG represents a tokenized version of short-term U.S. Treasuries backed by BlackRock's USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund. Remember, the treasury market in the United States, $29 trillion. The treasury market globally is well.
So yeah, it seems like that even USA is deciding to go towards this tokenization route, putting everything, you know, that has been on paper before is going now to be tracked. It's going to now be publicly available, and you can just buy it with a button. That's what we were seeing now. We haven't seen that 10 years ago because it was too complicated, right? You could only buy stuff on paper. And even 200 years ago, you had like these bonds, if I remember. So if you lost these papers, they were gone forever, or you had to somehow recover them. They were not easy to find. And you could sell them, you know, physically to a person, which are basically like stocks. And if you lose them, it's kind of like losing your keys, right? You lose them forever.
Past 80 to 100 trillion dollars. So you start to imagine that a lot of this value is going to make its way onto these networks.
So yeah, there's like trillions and trillions coming in, and that's why people are calling for $20 XRP, is because even if 1% of that 100 trillion hits XRP, that's 1 trillion. 1 trillion of that money coming into that. And that's where really they are hyped about that. I feel like it's a bit overestimated because a lot of the money is still, you know, in assets. It's still in cash itself. A lot of people still use cash to make their money. So you got to consider that as well.
And blockchains sooner rather than later. Talks about on-chain interoperability. OUSG already exists on platforms like Ethereum, Polygon, and Solana, but now it extends its footprint to the XRP Ledger, targeting a broader institutional adoption. Initial liquidity. Ripple and Ondo have jointly seeded liquidity on the XRP Ledger to support active trading and efficient access with undisclosed allocation amounts.
So I'm pretty sure BlackRock was hired or is working in some way for Ondo as well, or Ondo is working for them, and they are paying from all the stuff they could pay. Again, not bank transfers, but they're doing these transfers through XRP Ledger. That's why they bought XRP, or that's why there's rumors they bought XRP, because you need XRP for the Ledger token burns. Again, this is really correlated all between, so it might be a bit hard to understand. And the partner, look at this. The partnership is contributing to record highs in Ondo's total value locked, rapid adaptation in the DeFi space. So it's soaring. Like, this is the real thing that will probably take like 5-10 years. But once it hits hard.
Compliance. The product leverages stringent know your customer and anti-money laundering requirements, appealing to institutional clients. The XRP Ledger natively supports compliance features like decentralized identities, DIDs, and on-chain credential management. 24/7 access, minting, and redeeming of OUSG via the RLUSD stablecoin allows institutions to bypass traditional, slower financial rails, gaining access to the US Treasury yields at all hours. You got to understand too here, like, let's say you're in a different country and maybe you didn't have access to buying US Treasuries. And if you're in a country where the currency is fluctuating a lot, you might not want to keep all of your money in that currency because maybe one day you're up and one day you're down a lot, right? And so some of these countries or the people in these countries are going to look towards safety, and safety has been the US dollar. Now, I know what you're going to say, Sensei. The US dollar, they keep printing and we're losing.
This has been happening with a lot of countries. If you think the US dollar is bad, some of these countries literally this year have fallen maybe 100%. Their whole currency has devalued 20-30% per year, which is absolutely mind-boggling. If you had life savings, you just lost 30% of your life savings that you worked 25 years for. So I feel like this could incite some crypto regulations. Some of these, governments might not allow to have foreign investments because there might be certain risks. But again, I see a lot of positives in this. This could really pump the US. That's why tokenization is so huge. Again, where is this money going to go? It's going to go into US short-term treasury bonds, which are basically US dollars. And people could be using different types of money to spend it. Again, I know it's a bit hard to understand, but here's the thing. In 2-3 years, it will all make sense because they're going to finally launch these products. And that's when the big corporations from other countries can finally join in. Even with my heavy accent, we're like on a verge of a bull run. Could be like this bull run could be in 2-3 years, but we are not in a rush.
I get it.
It could happen anytime.
But when you're looking at the US dollar compared to some of these other currencies, I think we can all say you'd probably rather hold dollars today than maybe like the Russian ruble or the Chinese yuan. So this is what I'm trying to get at here. The growth, the partnership is contributing to record highs on Ondo's total value locked, highlighting rapid adoption in the DeFi space. TVL recently rose above 1.36 billion, a direct result of the expanded access and provided with this integration. Now, I did want to jump into this here. David Schwartz says, David Schwartz was replying to like Andre Vick about a bunch of this stuff yesterday, and we did a video on that, which I released today. I don't have, this is David Schwartz. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'm pretty sure XRP's use as a bridge in Ripple payments dwarfs every other asset. I think stablecoins win for collateral use cases. Volatile collateral is annoying. And edge use cases, basically volatility at the on and off ramps is so annoying. For almost everything else, I still think digital assets work better. Unless you're risk averse, you'll probably prefer to hold most top tier digital assets over cash. I also think that more use of the XRP ledger for real financial.
So yeah, this is the problem that XRP has been having and why it hasn't pumped. There's not a lot of use cases. There's just tests from the bank. So like a 10,000 euro transaction to see that the ledger works. But overall, there hasn't been much use cases for it yet. It's just in development. It's in test phases, and it might take 1 to 3 years for it to actually start working. So keep that in mind when you're, making, your own financial decisions. Again, I'm not a financial advisor, but this is a very important factor. But this also means there's a ton of potential for XRP.
Representing a 430% increase in just 2 years. Remember, this increase was all due without regulation, and when Ripple was still being sued, or they still are being sued by the SEC until the SEC drops that appeal. So
the thing is, there's like discovery phases where these are public court documents, and you can see that Ripple was winning in some of these court documents. That's when the prices really started to rise. So yeah, they were still being sued, but the news about that is that also Ripple kind of came back in that way. They came back and won. Like every single time they won, the price went up. So that's my point here is it was kind of cool, like hinted that Ripple will win, and that's when whales started buying.
Oh, they've had this growth with this big, chain hanging around their neck. If all of these, things holding it back are lifted, ETFs are approved, where do you think we're all going to be when this is all settled and done? On July 1st, 2025, for example.
I don't know how many people will buy for the ETFs, but they are the big talk of the town. Again, there's a lot of buyers who really want it to happen, but I'm worried if we don't get retail investors, how many of people will actually buy ETFs? And there's predicted volume of $1 billion.
Well, we almost saw 967,000 payment transactions on the XRP ledger out of a total of 1.3 million transactions that day, reinforcing payments as the ledger's main use case. Institutional adoption, Ripple's network now connects with 300 financial institutions, 45 countries. Ripple's on-demand liquidity, which leverages XRP as a bridge asset, facilitated 2.3 billion in cross-border transfers in Q1 2025 alone. XRP as the core bridge asset, Ripple CTO and multiple independent reports confirm.
Like, look at that. This is why banks want to use it. Low transaction fees, rapid settlement. Now, I haven't heard a lot about that, but 75% of transactions are completed under 5 seconds. Again, when you do these transfers, why do these transfers say same day? Same day transfers or next day when you do like a bank transfer? The banks are trying to change that and, you know, make transfers instant, because there's a lot of money if you can handle more volume, right? If you can make transfers instant without waiting. Ripple has grown to 282,000 in 2025 with some corridors. So I feel like, you know, there is going to be more Ripple partnerships coming next year. It's absolutely incredible.
That despite the emergence of stablecoins like RLUSD and Tether, our XRP still serves as the default bridge asset for cross-border payments made via RippleNet outside the US for international payment volume. Using XRP rose 53% year over year in 2025. It does talk about, you know, the efficiency and how cheap this is for, you know, XRP remains attractive due to its low transaction fees of about 0.00002 cents. I saw something that I was doing some research for another video that the average Ethereum transactions for USDC, I think is like 32 cents or 38 cents. Interesting to see how much cheaper it is to use XRP.
I feel like they're trying to push this even cheaper once the development gets better. Volume on weekends is sometimes lower, but it's not that bad at all, right? For Ripple. But the technology here is they're trying to push lower and lower transaction fees. They're probably trying to push Ripple to make like basically free at this point for each transaction. They still feel like 0.0, like that's not even a fifth of a penny. So I made a mistake, that or a 20th of a penny. It's a very, very minuscule amount of a cent, right? The issue is they want probably minuscule, like something like nothing at all.
XRP other, you know, over some other, you know, layer ones in the blockchain space. I do think that as this evolves and more volume goes through this, maybe payments could become a little bit more expensive, or if more value is being moved, maybe it'll be more expensive, but we'll have to see when that all time comes.
I feel like as technology improves, there is going to be more competition and they will try to find ways to make this basically free.
Integration for bridging across fields.
Or whatever, you know, the thing here is all this gas fees are used for XRP. So when you see that, it's literally burns, coin burns.
Tokenized treasuries are starting to challenge the stablecoin model. Securitized precedent and new wormhole integration enables BlackRock's buildable assets to the XRP ledger. They are coming. And you start to look at the institutions that Ripple has, you know, the institutions that have said they've been working with Ripple in the past. Now, obviously, not all these institutions are going to move forward with Ripple in the future. Other use cases have probably come up over the last few years, and some banks are going to do different things. But that also said that Ripple might add more institutions to this list. But if you take a look at how many other crypto companies can say that they've been in the rooms with all of these different financial institutions or countries or central banks, you start to really see that Ripple does have the connections that it needs to access the world's payments center and be at the heart of that. And so it talks about BlackRock, Vanguard, Fidelity, JP Morgan, Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, Citi, HSBC, Santander, UBS, Deutsche Bank, BNY Mellon, Standard Chartered. It does mention Grayscale, MasterCard and Visa, NASDAQ and ASX, Ripple Liquidity Hub, 100 plus on-demand liquidity partners globally, Interbank, Westpac, QNB, MUFG, CIBC, SEB Bank, World Economic Forum.
So yeah, plenty of banks basically, but plenty of big players that are entering Ripple. We don't need to have everyone to hit $10. If you want to hit $100, you're going to probably have to partner with the whole world, but Ripple can't even handle that yet. But just seeing this, you know, once it gets live, so this is why it hasn't affected the price yet, these partnerships. How can it affect the price if it's not live yet, right? And here we already saw the prices going up just because of announcement of these partnerships. So again, once Ledger is truly showing its 100% potential, that's when we could really be seeing the prices move.
XRP's at $3. If you are just now entering the crypto market brand new, what are you going to be buying? You know, if you want to stay in the top 3 or top 5,
like people will be buying top 5 tokens, and they will definitely choose XRP, not Ethereum or Bitcoin, in my opinion. Probably Bitcoin and some XRP, because they will see, oh, it's only $3. What if it hits $120,000? Because they will not understand the market cap. That's when they will really try to go for it and make that money.
More of it. I was doing physical therapy yesterday, and you know, the gentleman, my physical therapist is working on, you know, I'm doing all these stretches and stuff like that for my hip surgery. And the other physical therapist kind of knows what I do, but kind of doesn't know. But he started talking about, man, I should have bought Bitcoin when I had the chance. And then so I started talking to him like, you know, why don't you buy it now? He says, well, God, it's too expensive now. I said, well, you know, what do you consider, you know, reasonable? He said, anything that I can buy for $1 or $2 would be reasonable. I said, well, have you looked at XRP? And I said, maybe you should watch my channel, man. I got some information for you. But this is the same conversation that a lot of people are going to be having. Millions of new people entering the crypto space over the next few years are going to be asking the same question. Am I supposed to be buying Bitcoin?
I feel like the power where people don't understand Bitcoin and crypto is Bitcoin is going to move more towards institutions. So like the big players and the small players will go towards XRP.
Or should I buy something that maybe has a use case that they can better understand? Most people can't understand what smart contracts are and what they do, but people kind of get what a bridge asset does or a stable coin does. And we know that the XRP ledger is home to one of the best bridge assets on the planet, as well as RLUSD, which is going to be widely used. You know what? I'm going to get into this next post. There's a lot of stuff here. I don't want to kind of put you to sleep here. There was here from Smoke Dog. Remember, Harvard revealed that a roadmap to the digital dollar involves XRP and XLM. So, you know, there's been
So I feel like they are using XRP. This could be just like a, you know, study that someone did, that they could be using XRP or XLM. So again, it's not confirmed by Harvard. Could be a Harvard student.
A lot of information posted about, you know, what different universities or schools, research papers expect things to happen in the future. Of course, things change over time, but they're pointing out here the ML driven FX interface converts fiat to XRP or XLM depending upon instructions. It also says sends crypto to a receiver, immutability verification implemented through XRP blockchain, execution controlled by ML.
Maybe this is to explain people how crypto works, right?
Is to buy.
But even if the US government said they will hold some XRP, even if they hold like 10, 20 million, would still pump the prices a bit, which would be nice.
Crypto assets or support American innovation. Yes, the regulation part is there, but where's the other part, right? We're all waiting. We're sitting on the edge of our seats. Are you guys just going to be focused on Bitcoin? Or are you really going to support American companies? I think everybody holds.
That's what people will do. Like if Trump calls out and says that XRP is US company, we need to support crypto companies, and he goes more bearish on Bitcoin, imagine what will happen to the prices. Crypto companies go up and all these, you know, Bitcoin goes down and all these crypto US companies go up. It's very clear at this point. But again, it really, I feel like the risk here, it really depends on what the U.S. government does.
We still want these tokens to meet the same standard. And, you know, I think that there is a world in which, yeah, sure, there could be other additional assets added to a reserve, but we're not there yet. I think that we probably will get there eventually at some point, because I believe in American exceptionalism and in our ability to create and develop. And obviously Bitcoin being, you know, that golden standard, like we've said repeatedly, Bitcoin is digital gold. You know, there's a world in which you could see more assets added to that.
Full transparency here, though. A lot of the people that work in the Trump administration used to own Bitcoin or have friends and family that own a lot of Bitcoin. So, you know, I don't know if there is a reason here that we're only pushing Bitcoin, but it sure feels.
Also Ethereum, you know, I feel like that once the ETFs get approved, that's where the money pipes could be flowing in. That's when the regulation could really help.
It's like, you know, something doesn't feel right. I mean, I get it that Bitcoin was the first, but you understand that it's just a store of value. And if we're only going to be focusing on that, why build this up to tell us that you're going to be focusing on American innovation? Just, I'll leave it at that. You let me know down in the comments what you think. Are they?
What do you guys think? Like, I feel like there's a lot to take in. Again, these partnerships could really pump crypto. There's so much more that could really be the potential. But right now, it's still good that Trump doesn't mention it because it means it's still undervalued, right? If Trump mentioned it, if ETFs were approved, if all of this stuff happened that we were seeing, you know, the last few months that was being teased, it would be bad because that means the price would be already set in. $3 is the maximum price, but we are literally seeing crypto recovering and going back and going higher and higher, and it's destroying all levels, like for XRP especially. So that makes me very happy to see that.
XRP and
so this is another video from Your Pop. Again, XRP has been having a very big announcement from Trump. Trump has been very vocal about crypto, but this one, Trump emergency said buy the dip. They want in the big reset.
And the entire cryptocurrency market is undergoing what I believe is a strategic reset. In today's video, we're going to talk about why I am buying the dip across pretty much all the cryptocurrency.
Like if Trump says buy the dip, I'm pretty sure Eric Trump said buy Ethereum and it went up after from 1,800. He saw it's undervalued. But they didn't mention XRP since January 2024, and I'm hoping they mention it much, much sooner than that.
When we see it at $2.83, down 6.7% on the day. If we look at it as down 11.39% on the week, people tend to panic. But instead, this is actually the time where the wealth is generated in the markets. When you're able to stomach volatility, tell yourself, no, this is not the end of the cryptocurrency industry. We are just getting started. And per the multi-cycle scenarios, where we've seen it time and time again, 2017.
Tomorrow, 8/3 is the 59% date of the year. Yeah, it's 60%. Basically, we passed 60% of 2025. But the good news about it is we still have like many months left. That's the thing. Many, many months left. And again, you know, 2026 could also be a very nice year for crypto. Not just 2025, but usually historically, September, October, November is when crypto goes out for one last push until it takes a small breather for the next 3-4 years, 1 year. Just historically, right? But I could be totally, hopefully wrong here.
Probably will break a new all-time high for BTC, XRP, ETH, and many other altcoins by the end of the month. So don't look at low time frames and start to panic. Instead, look at it as a dollar cost averaging opportunity. If you got into XRP at 363 at all-time highs, and you're about to dip again at $3.05, this could be yet another support zone, because this is exactly where we were consolidating middle of July. So this is, again, a buying opportunity. Treat it as nothing but so. For those of you that are looking to buy XRP for the first time, or you want exposure to crypto but don't know where to start because you're afraid of the decentralization of wallets, losing your keys, all the different things that can go wrong with crypto, I am actually partnering with I Trust Capital, a very big company here in the United States of America, and they're offering everyone an exclusive 100. Should be.
So you can't make this up. Trump literally just fired a person who revised job reports down by 258,000. And he's questioning if the July numbers are real, calling the 73 numbers a shock. I feel like a lot of people, you know, don't really know what's happening with the numbers. So if you're not kept up to date, the jobs have been, you know, saying we're so much unemployed is because Trump fired everyone. Again, we don't know what's going on. And you got to really focus on the task at hand. What's happening with crypto prices? That's what you should be focusing on, where the development is, not on the politics, because we all saw what happened with tariffs, guys, and everybody was talking about tariffs, and putting 10,000 in the bank takes 24 years to double. Yeah, banks are, you know, probably even less than that, probably takes your money away from inflation. So in 24 years, 10,000 is not going to be worth a lot. But we saw what happened with tariffs, and everybody was calling crypto is over with tariffs, and then suddenly we had a huge recovery, right? That's why I don't trust politic news anymore. That's why I focus on the big partnership updates that really make price changes.
In March of 2024 by approximately 818,000, and then again right before the 2024 presidential election in August, September by 112,000. These were records. No one can beat that. Wrong? We need accurate job numbers. I have directed my team to fire this Biden political appointee immediately. She'll be replaced by someone much more competent and qualified. Important numbers like this must be fair and accurate. They can't be manipulated for political purposes. And he says here that there was only 73,000 jobs added, a shock, but more importantly, that the major mistake was made by them, 258,000 jobs downward in the prior 2 months. The economy is booming, he states, under the Trump administration, despite a Fed that also plays games.
So Trump wants rate cuts because it would further look good after 1 year, that it actually pumps everything. With interest rates where they lower them twice and substantially just before a presidential election, I assume in hopes of Jerome too late Powell should be put out to pasture. Like, he's calling stuff like that, but the thing is, Jerome Powell is playing it safe, and he's actually saying that the inflation, that we're seeing right now is getting caused because of the tariffs. And that's why he hasn't changed the rates yet, and that's what hasn't pumped XRP yet.
Because my understanding is, I think the correction that came in actually makes maybe a little bit more sense than the initial numbers that were stated. With that being said, maybe our economy is in a little bit worse condition than we thought,
That's why Jerome Powell is waiting. Again, this is not a random guy working at the Fed. This is a person that has survived 2008 crash, 1991. He literally survived everything, right? And you are basically seeing right now is we are having the markets move so fast. One day XRP is 3.6, the next day is 2.8. And right now Jerome Powell is trying to see, what's happening with the economy? Do people really have money, or are they just bluffing and we're going to soon enter a recession? So that is why he hasn't changed these rates yet, because if he changes them too soon, again, we could be entering a big, big recession.
That doesn't change the fact that this is a buying the dip opportunity. Look what Eric Trump did. Let me say it again, buy the dips, BTC.
So yeah, Eric Trump, again, crypto family member of Trump, literally said buy the dip. He hasn't mentioned XRP though, just Bitcoin ETH.
And ETH. And this was yesterday or this morning at 2:20 a.m. my time. So about 7 hours.
So he said a few months later buy the dip, but he's been very prominent.
For altcoins as ETH begins to lead the way. Benjamin Cohen, one of the people that I've been following for, again, multi-years, and I think he's really good with his TA as well as cryptocurrency. I think there are two most likely paths for ETH right now.
So yeah, September is when I'm really bullish. But again, we could get shocked. Who knows? We could be wrong. Sees all-time highs this year, but the path to get there is difficult to predict exactly. So there could be multiple scenarios this happens. Same goes for ETH, same goes for XRP. But right now, it doesn't look like August is going to be kind to us.
August?
But I'm not too worried. It's just 1 month. 1 month is going to pass by fast.
Probably be buying back crypto. Scenario 2.
I called about crypto basically exploding because of all these crypto bills. Again, crypto bills being signed is bullish, but actually taking effects will take 2 years. So crypto might drop off for 2 years, and then in 2 years it comes back stronger than ever. This is a very big possibility, guys. It's not that much of a joke.
We actually fall back to the support band, as he mentioned, to right around $3,000. $3,000 ETH. We come back up to right around 38.50. Retrace again at a little higher low in September, and then a new all-time high for ETH. But again, not as strong of an all-time high. If we don't have a bullish August, that puts us right around $5,600 per Ethereum. With that being said, how does this impact XRP? XRP follows ETH very closely, more so than BTC. With that being said, with all the inflows that we're expecting from institutions and hopefully an XRP ETF approval, we could expect a lot more upside for XRP relative to Ethereum. That's an obvious.
So yeah, not a financial price prediction, but it does seem like that Trump, Eric Trump is literally saying buy the dip. And of course, they're probably much more invested than any one of us in crypto. And I don't think they're going to let crypto go. I think they see a lot of potential there. I think they built a lot of companies. They're thinking long-term. They're not thinking like a cash grab. They're going to be back and they're going to want more gains in that way, right? This is where it really matters, guys. They're doubling down. They're literally doubling down. And this August dip is just a very, very small crash.
And so sentiment has somehow fully reset once again back to neutral. And that's one thing that I didn't mention in the video today.
I just don't understand it. Like, people are saying people were suddenly neutral when we suddenly were in a best bear market. Everything is affordable. Everything is good. So much money in the world. Why did we suddenly get so bearish? I don't understand it, guys. Maybe I'm missing some points. Maybe you guys have, some different opinions. But that's okay. I want to look at actual facts of what is going on. We also saw SEC, and Trump issues urgent message for XRP holders.
So unless you...
Crypto Levi has made this point for XRP. Look at this. Eric Trump is, literally, I couldn't be more bullish than that the son of Donald Trump is into crypto. He's very prominent. And again, they probably are talking about crypto every single week. He's managing his crypto portfolios and everything else.
Under a rock, you've probably seen the fact that the stock market, the crypto markets, everything is deep in the red today. And that's why I'm making today's video, because none other than Eric Trump, Donald Trump's son.
They want to trick you into selling, be strong. Literally, yeah, we saw these price crashes. And after we see like a 100% rally, this is like the future, like every AI company, tech company being down to 2.33. We saw the biggest drops in 2022, which were way, way worse than this.
Has made a statement, and a statement that I think is pretty crucial, considering the last time he made a statement like this, he ended up being right, and people actually made a lot of money based off of his words. But I'll get back to that in just a second. We'll see what Eric Trump is saying, what's happening with the markets. First, I just want to highlight this. I mean, just look at these numbers. It's absolutely insane.
1.1 trillion wiped, but then we see 1.1 trillion gains. Again, it's very normal for me in the market. It's not that crazy when you think about it, especially in crypto. The markets are much smaller, but in stock market, it's very normal when the stock market is much bigger to see like a 1% down. So if you said 2% down or 3% down today, or if you said 1.1 trillion, which sounds more crazy, of course the 1.1 trillion, right? But if you said that crypto is down 1 trillion today, that's 30%. So that's a very big difference, and it's kind of I could call it misleading.
$0.11 trillion have been wiped out from the US stock market just today. Of course, cryptocurrency markets also are seeing something very similar happen right now. You look at Bitcoin, you look at XRP, you look at all the markets, I mean, they're down. XRP is down 6% here. You can see Bitcoin down 1.74% here. Ethereum down nearly 4%. It's a bloodbath is what you would say. I mean, there's just absolute red everywhere across the market. And so with this happening, we're seeing Indian officials also make some pretty crazy moves, which I think are playing into this. And I know the question a lot of you guys are going to have is why? Why are we seeing so much liquidity get wiped out from the U.S. stock market and from...
Like, this news happens every single week. I'm not too worried about that.
The crypto markets. Well, there's actually one very easy answer. I covered it in my video yesterday, talking about the submarines that Trump had stationed around Russia. If you do recall that specific announcement, I said that was a Black Swan event likely, and now we're seeing the results of it here today. The markets are finally reacting to it. Obviously, when you have worries of a big conflict, big dips generally do happen, and that's a great opportunity to buy the dip, in my opinion. Anyways, that's the way that I view this. I view this as an opportunity, and the opportunity has presented itself, and that's why I am buying. Okay, so there's also some other things that are kind of catalyzing from the submarine thing that's happening between Russia and the United States of America. The first one is Indian officials now saying that they're going to buy Russian oil despite President Trump's disagreements.
Yeah, so I don't feel like this is the worst news that's causing the crypto crash. I feel like we were seeing the crypto dip because of the tariff stuff and no changes, and that's exactly as I predicted. When we got no changes, we saw a 3% dip. I predicted that, and we got that. But again, it's pretty normal to see that every time the FOMC meeting is out.
We're also seeing that, the situation on a global scale is worsening. In fact, China's real estate downturn is getting extremely concerning. You can see new home sales by China's 100 largest developers fell 24% in July, the largest decline in 10 months, and month-over-month sales fell 38%, marking the steepest monthly drop this year. This comes after June marked the biggest monthly decline in prices of new homes in 8 months, and meanwhile the demand for new homes in cities is estimated to stay 75% below its 2017 peak.
I feel like the drop is just because people have started to realize that real estate is not that easy money anymore to rent out. It's not that it's mostly to live, and it's also becoming super expensive to rent out apartments and rent them. That's why people have invested in other stuff like stocks, and I feel like crypto will follow. That's what we saw in 2021. Nobody could afford an apartment. We go for this.
Now, why am I bringing this up? Well, China's in an incredibly tough spot right now. They have lowered rates, they've printed all this money, and their problems are still worsening. Their home sales are plummeting. The value of their goods is plummeting. They're experiencing a deflation, which some people might see as a good thing, but it's a snowball effect. When consumers think to themselves, okay, well, the prices are going to continue to go down, why would I buy? Then
I feel like the issue is like this will, if this affects, if China loses money, so will USA. There's nothing stopping, USA to dip as well. I mean, potentially this is how the 2011, 2008, 2009, whatever you want to call it, recession started, is because US housing market crashed, and then we saw a big dip, right? We saw a big dip in the US. Guess what? All other so many companies went bankrupt, which a lot of countries and banks, had invested in these US companies.
Nobody buys, and then the prices continue to go down, and then they keep thinking the same way. It's a cycle. And this actually creates an incredibly horrible situation for businesses who start to go bankrupt because they're not getting any sales. And so I do think that the China 2008 situation is happening now, as the Kabosi letter was saying here. This is essentially China going through the same 2008 housing crisis that the United States went through. Now, luckily, the U.S. is not going through this. They've learned their lessons, but China's about to learn a very hard lesson. And I feel
like people were calling for this crash for like 10 years now, and it still has not happened. I saw these videos in 2020 and still not here, right? That's what's keeping me at bay. That's what's not making me that scared yet.
I think that we're going to see ripple effects across the entire world, pun intended, because, of course, China's the second largest world economy, and they're a manufacturing hub. And when all of their businesses are deeply affected by what's going on here,
we're actually getting a lot of imports and exports to China and from China. There's a lot of stuff there coming in and out, and except crypto, everything else is very connected in this world.
People will feel the effects of that. Now, to talk about Eric Trump, he's saying to buy the Bitcoin and Ethereum dips. Now, I think buying the XRP dips is the absolute best move right now. I'll explain why very soon, but first, I want to talk about the last time that Eric Trump actually came out and said this. Eric Trump had said this many months ago. I believe he had said it in February, or it was March or April. He basically had said the same thing. He said, I think you should buy the dips, the Bitcoin.
He said the same in February. I think they're very invested as well. Like millions and millions of dollars, if not $500 million.
Ethereum, all these dips. Now, when he came out and said this, Ethereum and Bitcoin and many other cryptocurrencies had just come off of their January highs, and they had tumbled down tremendously, right? And he said, I think it's a good time to buy. And then, 2 or 3 months later, in like June or so, or July, he then said, hey, I told you guys, because Bitcoin, Ethereum, they're all smashing new record highs. And now he's coming out and saying it again. So many people are seeing this as potentially, a sign that things will pick up again, similarly that they did before. Other people are saying,
I feel like US will never now abandon crypto, at least this 4 years. Because they see this opportunity of growth, right? It's still very undertapped. It's still very low. The companies have not come in yet. That's where this could really pump.
And that, you're just going to be his exit liquidity because of World Liberty Financial. But World Liberty Financial hasn't been selling their holdings. So until they actually start doing that, I guess we have nothing to worry about for exit liquidity.
And you still have to consider, you know, World Liberty Financial still had to buy this Ethereum. It had to own it. And they literally did cause the crypto. You know, they didn't get these tokens issued. They got them for free. It's not like you get XRP for free. You're still playing the game, right? You went in, you bought it. And it's your right to sell if you're a company.
On a factual side, you know, just covering what they're doing. I'd like to know what you guys think, though. Do you think that Eric Trump has a point here? Do you think he's actually trying to serve the people here? Do you think there's something else going on? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. I think it's really cool that he's weighing in right now. And, you know, I'll get into my thoughts very soon because I do have some pretty important things to share with you guys. But first, I want to get into the good news, okay? So the Federal Reserve Governor, Kugler, has resigned from the Fed board. Now, this is somebody who did not want to lower rates on the Fed board. Trump has made a statement already saying that he wants to replace her with somebody who's going to lower rates, basically. Like, this is what he's going to do, right? And so the more people that resign that were, of course, against lowering rates, the more chance we have of rates actually being lowered.
I feel like, yeah, the rates getting cut is already certain. But Jerome Powell, you know, is going to be leading. He's going to be standing up, especially because it's his last term. So use the charts like an XRP sort. That would be definitely nice.
Another thing right here is ETF approvals, right? This is something that people just seemingly have forgotten about for...
Nobody forgot about ETF approvals, but they got delayed. And the issue is you need to wait a long time before we actually see more news for it. Maybe like 1, 2, 3 months.
Whatever reason, even despite Ethereum having this legendary run where it's gone up astronomically over the last couple of months here, outpacing everything, having more volume than Bitcoin, right? People are just ignoring that fact that just happened because of the ETFs. And they're not even talking about XRP ETFs right now because of all these other headlines again, right? But Bloomberg's Eric Balchunas is saying that an XRP ETF could be approved by September or October, right? So we have like 1 or 2 months away from XRP ETFs, which will potentially bring in billions of dollars of volume into XRP over a very short period of time. Incredible. We have the Fed members that are stopping rates from being cut.
So again, I think the ETFs, we need to get buyers for that. So even if the ETFs are out, you still need to have someone buying it, right? This is the important thing. Most of the people are bullish on ETFs because they feel like their prices will grow. So 589, dude, this would be definitely nice. I totally missed that. But this is the important factor I'm seeing right now. I'm actually very sleep deprived, is that most of the people who want XRP to grow is not, we got to consider the big institutions and partnerships. And this might take more than just 1 year. A lot of people are focused end of the year. But if you take a look at, you know, the long game, 10 years, 15 years, this is where XRP could really pump in that matter. So I would definitely be excited if XRP hits $100, but we're still a far long way from that. And it might take multiple rallies before we get to those levels. Might take 10 years, might take 2 years, might take 0 years. And there is still so much important stuff that XRP needs to cover and important announcements. But it's a nice start seeing what we have now. So let's take a look. Donald Trump just dropped a bombshell for XRP. Wanted to check quick news here. XRP, you know, was at $3 here. There is another factor that he has said here on the prices, XRP prices.
Attend the spring sprint toward.
The SEC Government Crypto Task Force is taking its industry roundtables on the road to hear from the stakeholders who could not attend the Spring Crypto Towards Crypto Clarity series earlier this year. This is like the big crypto regulation that people have been waiting for and that people want to see. And again, when will SEC go to actually doing something? People are asking for that. This is really the issue here. XRP is going to take a lot of time to get through these crypto bills.
This Crypto Clarity series earlier this year and expand the breadth of voices contributing to policy-making efforts. What a difference a different SEC has made. Now the SEC is with arms wide open, right? Should I sing it? With arms wide open. Who sing that? Creed, I think. The song from back in the day. So yeah, the SEC is a totally different SEC. Although many of the people are the same, the head is different and the decision maker is different, and it's totally a different outlook and perspective. And
again, there's going to be a lot of crypto bills, and something tells me that we are not seeing the end of XRP yet. Like, we are going to be seeing much more crypto proposals because we haven't still been hearing the one from January.
This here. And
August 18th, here's how August performs for the markets, this one.
We'll see how this plays out. Listen, historically, August has not been great.
It's actually the worst for post-election year since 1950. 2025 is a post-election year. I'd be curious to see if this is the year where the trend could change. So we're seeing August and September can be trouble. S&P average monthly returns. So they're saying that October, November, December is after these elections is when the markets really pump. So that's just another factor to pump in, right? Because these markets are so correlated. All part of the 4-year cycle that's almost undefeated since 1929. So someone is saying here that we haven't been seeing this pump since 1929. So you're literally living in the history.
For markets, especially after election years, right? So we potentially should see weakness here. And
I was kept saying August is very bad. You know, August and September is the ghost month. This is what I've been telling you guys all the time.
Also something called a ghost month, right? In much of East and South Asia, the entire 7th lunar month, right, is known as a ghost month. Tradition holds that the gates to the underworld open, wandering spirits.
But they're saying this ghost month, we're not talking about Southeast Asia. We're talking about the crypto markets, right, being basically blocked for 1 month. And here you can say Bitcoin's ghost month scorecard, and you can see peak to true drawdown. So yeah, there is possibilities that we see bigger drops. Look at this, 13%, 16, 15, 11. Only one bullish exception. Only one time that we saw like late August or early September see 18% returns. Everything else was a bit negative. But again, you can, if you have a good market, you can rally really, really fast to, you know, the prices you want to see.
Roam the earth, and any big new venture invites bad luck. People therefore avoid weddings, house moves, and crucially, fresh investments. Liquidity falls, risk-taking dries up, and markets often wobble, right? So, I don't know. Someone are saying that it's some
2029 will be our 100. That will definitely be nice. I don't see August, you know, like people saying August XRP $20. It's going to be hard.
Someone here said that it's August 23rd to September 21st. I don't know. Even if it starts, you know, later in the month, again, historically, August is not the best for the markets. Many people go on vacation. I'm already seeing people saying I'm going to be vacation for a week or two. You know,
that's what I said. One big trading factor is the Korean markets, which are closed. The Korean markets are far gone in usually August, September, and they open, you know, early September because they have, you know, national holidays or whatever. And that's the important factor that a lot of people miss out on, trading volume that we're also missing on. But yeah, guys, I will keep you guys updated. Be sure to smash that like button. Today, the stream is going to be slightly shorter, but if you want more content like this, why not check out my videos? Like, there's tons of content here that you probably missed. I'm going to take a rest. I'm going to celebrate a very special celebration today. Can't reveal much yet, but it's
the U.S. trade.
I'm going to take a slight rest because it's been very, very busy. I need some proper sleep. Once I get proper sleep, I can stream for longer. But we did hit 1.43 today. So love you all. And, you know, you matter. And I'll keep you guys updated with more XRP news tomorrow. Probably as I wake up, I'll do some work. So yeah, see you guys.